Okay, so we have a game against Petursson. So
Well, he was probably in that time the best grandmaster from Iceland. I mean, he was probably the best player from Iceland after Olafsson, of course. But Olafsson was, a big difference in age. I mean, he was,
he was the
older, and this one, Petursson was much younger, of course. And he played very well, had very good result, and we had our game here in Philadelphia, and it was a very nice example of the whole game was more or less the same until the moment where we had to play something else. It was almost the same with my game against Arnason, if you remember. We showed the game against Arnason, and the variation was almost the same. He tried to improve, to play something else, to show that black has a good game. And starting from there, the game will be very complicated, and we have our game here, you see. Yeah.
Okay.
So the variation is a tarash, the so-called tarash. This is a normal position after e3, knight c6, takes in d5, knight takes d5. Okay, bishop d3, takes in d4, takes in d4, bishop e7, castle, castle, rook e1. And again, like his friend Arnason, played the same variation now. Bishop f6, bishop f6, bishop e4, and now queen d6. That was the improvement, let's say, of my game against Arnason, where he played already here knight e7, if I remember. Yeah, knight c e7. And white had the better game after knight e5. It was complicated. We showed the game, and it was another possibility. After queen d6, bishop g5, he takes in g5, of course, knight g5, and the game will be positional, So knight back to f3 and bishop d7. Now you have to decide what to do. It seems that black had already a reasonable game, Now you have to decide how to play later on. If he had, let's say, another move here, he could go back to the f6 and try to play later against the Isolani, against the pawn from d4, you see?
Yes.
That was the... Now you have to decide, and if you want to have something, a small edge, you have to take with the bishop in d5 and try to accept to trade a few pieces later on and play a final or a middle game with a better knight against a weaker bishop, you see. That is the idea. So now we'll see what happens in the next moves. We take in d5, he takes a knight e5. Now it's clear, if he takes immediately in e5, he loses a pawn from d5. You can take even here with the pawn, and the pawn from d5 is attacked twice. So white is clearly better. No? Okay, so of course he doesn't take. No? We take there, and knight e5. Good. And now he played bishop e6. Now again, we have to decide what to do. This is the moment, an important moment. Here you take in c6. White takes in c6. Why is so important? Because he can choose to take with the pawn.
Yeah.
If he didn't take with the queen in c6, he took with the pawn. After knight a4 is clearly better for white because you have a very strong knight later on in c5.
Knight e4?
Knight a4. Knight a4, yeah. The pawn from c6 is a little bit weak, and you have time to come with the knight in c5 and have a clear advantage, Yeah. So he took with the queen, of course. Yeah. Okay, rook c1, rook c8, and you have to try to demonstrate why is better for white, you see. It's okay, white is better, but if the edge is big enough, this is another question, So queen a6, rook e5, yeah. Queen c6 back, he waits, of course. Yeah. h3, rook e8. Now he wants, if possible, later on to have the possibility to trade two rooks on the e5, you see. So white continues the idea. As you see, we play always on the black squares with white. black squares because
What?
he has white bishop.
Yeah.
So we play against the white
Oh.
bishop on the black squares. This is the idea.
Mm-hmm.
So rook e1, f6. Okay, now we go back with the rook, and he has time to go to e7. He wants to trade some pieces, on the e file. Okay.
Yes.
So now on, we have the possibility to go with the queen on the very central square on f4, controlling the diagonal. He takes in e2. We take to the rook, of course. And now rook e8. Okay. So now we take. He takes with the queen, and now king h2. We give the move, you see? Always on the black squares, you see? Yeah. So now we have time to play knight b5. And now it's unbelievable, but the position is already lost for black, So after queen b6, we play...
Why it's lost already?
You see, we play a4. Now he has the possibility to move something, but what? I mean, he had to play a6. It's the only possibility, So now check in b8, king h7, and now the decisive move, queen d6.
Okay.
Now he has to take in d6, because if he goes with queen a5, a little bit more active, after knight c3, he loses the queen. Knight c3, he has to move something, and the threat is terrible. The threat is b4, and the queen has no place.
Oh, yes.
It's completely winning for white, you see. So if he has to take in d6, has a winning endgame for white.
No, he doesn't take.
Well, he doesn't take, he play queen c6. Now you have to take yourself. I mean, takes in c6, takes in c6, knight c7, very good. The only move a5, no?
Yes.
Now a5, and now we want to have a free pawn on the a file, Knight a6, and now finally he has a move. I mean, he wants to play a little bit more active, right? He played bishop g6, and now b4 and black resign. But why?
Yes.
Because if he takes in b4, we take with the knight, and then finally we have time to go very quickly with the a pawn, We attack the pawn from c6, and there's no defense against a5, a6, and queen, No chance at all. So instead of taking in b4, he could try bishop d3, but again it's too late. After bishop d3, white wins immediately with the move knight c5. We attack the bishop. He has to move the bishop somewhere, And we take in a5. And again, we play afterwards b takes a5, and we're threatening simply a6 and queen, So very simple position, but completely winning for white. I told you before, the knight was much stronger than the bishop, and in this kind of position, the difference was decisive. You see?
Yeah.
Even if the position was very simple at the first glance like this, but it's completely winning. Because white has a clear advantage, clear game, and black has no counterplay at all. So,
the knight is moving much better than the bishop.
It's a very, very good example of this kind of difference.
Fight. Yeah.
Better knight against a weaker bishop. In this kind of position.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah. Okay, the game was clear, and I won the tournament, and it was very nice. You see. But by this level, if you consider a little bit, it was not very tactical, but it was enough, a small advantage all the time, and later on the advantage was bigger, and finally decisive in a few moves, you see.
Yeah, that's very
instructive.
Sounds easy, but...
sounds easy, but you have to see it and demonstrate it.
True, you have to deliver.
Yeah.
All right, so thank you for that.
You're welcome.